Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Friday evening Zoom seminar. I'm super happy today to be invited again. Actually, we did this very similar seminar in Chinese a month ago. And ever since then, we got a lot of overwhelming response from the parents, and they want to hear it again. And thanks for Vicky who invited me. And I love HS2 parents. So it's a great honor to be back. My name is Lou. If you don't know me, I'm a certified college financial specialist, and I do family financial planning. But college financial planning is probably one of my favorite. And I'm very proud to say that I am a college financial aid analyst and a consultant. I do this with passion. And I have two sons who graduated from university already. They both went to private universities. So I totally can feel the pain of parents paying for college because I was the one did the same thing. So today it's gonna be a very much information filled with information seminar. It's a lot of content. I will try my best to cover, and I might end up talking very fast, so bear with me. And you don't have to take too much notes, but I trust that HS2 will upload this to the YouTube channel so you can watch it again. And I know that some parents like to watch it again and again, just trying to get everything correct. So let's get started. It's 7:01. We will try to keep the session for within an hour. So we will try to finish it at 8 p.m. I might have a few minutes left for Q&A towards the end of it, but it's not a guarantee because I do have a lot of content to cover. So if I don't get your question, don't worry, and you will have the opportunity to ask me. Okay, thank you. So the topic is college financial aid. Applying for college financial aid is actually two different forms, the most important part. The first form, it's called the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, which is FAFSA. Now, keep in mind, this is a federal government application form. And it's also coming from the Department of Education. So every school, regardless what kind of school you're applying, and it's required that you fill out this form if you ask for financial aid. So whether it's a community college or Ivy League school, every US college and the universities require this FAFSA form. The second form, it's called the CSS profile, which is a college scholarship service profile. Now, this form is for College Board, which is an institutional, like it's from the colleges. They want to know, they want to just know more about your family financial situation. So they put together a very comprehensive application form. You will be asked so many questions about your family financial status and the situation. So this form is not the focus today. We are not going to talk too much about that form because there is not many changes. Our focus today is talk about FAFSA form because there is so much happened in the past year. And by going over what happened to the past year and revisit the timeline, I hope it will help you to position yourself this year and to understand the important dates, throughout the timeline. So FAFSA is the focus today. That's the number one thing. 2024 and 2025, which is last year, it was a disaster because first time ever, they made a major changes to FAFSA form. And I'm going to go over this really quickly, so bear with me. It's very tiny. I'm not going to read it, and I'm going to just point out some key dates. Now, keep in mind, the FAFSA application normally opens on October 1st. That's the date the FAFSA form is opened. You can go in and fill out the forms. But last year, the FAFSA form was not available until December 30th. So every parents were waiting December 30th last year. On December 30th, I went in too because I have many clients. The form was not available. It wasn't even available. It was on and off, and you sign in, they said it's not available, or you cannot even sign in. They said it's not available. So December 30th, the deadline, the time that they promised never really delivered. In January 2024, I'm sorry, it should be January 2024. This is a very, very important day. In the prior years, the January 30 date is normally the FAFSA transmission day. So on that day, all the FAFSA forms the students filled out will be transmitted to the school financial aid office. So this is the date that the school will receive the FAFSA form. Guess what happened? We can barely finish the application online because the form was not stable. They were full of the bugs, and there is certain areas people cannot complete, or they complete, it's showing incomplete. So on January 30th, 2024, and the FAFSA actually notified the school, you are not going to receive the FAFSA transmission until the first half month of March. What is March? March is a very important timeline because March is the time period that your students start receiving financial aid award. This is the time the school starts sending out the acceptance letter. Along with the acceptance letter, you're supposed to have financial aid award package. But guess what? This didn't happen because the school, they were still waiting for the FAFSA. They never received it. So this delay has caused overall, everybody was screaming, everybody was angry, frustrated. So the government, I mean, even in the Congress, they talked about this issue, but nobody seemed to have a solution. So all the senior parents last year had the most horrifying period. It's just one disaster after another. So May 1st is another important day. On this day, you're supposed to decide what is your final school pick. But guess what? No, you can't, because you only have the school acceptance letter, but you don't have the school financial aid offer. In most schools, this is the case, but for some private universities, they were able to give estimated financial aid award package, which is a good sign because the CSS profile charmed in and helped many parents and helped many schools. And so for parents that, for instance, California students that aiming for UC schools, and this was the most horrifying period because they didn't know what they get. It's a zero visibility. So last year is not done yet. We still have students fighting with the financial aid office and fighting with the final financial aid award package. And it seems like it's not ending 100% yet. When I was preparing for this presentation, I was very excited because in June, the Department of Education and the FAFSA announced this year, everything went back to normal, and you are going to have the form ready on October 1st. Only yesterday, August 8th, and we got another shocking news. So parents, senior parents, be ready. It's another year. Might not be as bad as last year, but it's definitely not a smooth sailing. So the US Department of Education announced in the press release that the 2025 and the 2026 FAFSA will open for limited set of students and institutions on October 1st. And then the department will make the application available to all students on or before December 1st, 2024. What does that mean? So parents, be very careful when you go in. The form seems like ready, right? October 1st. But do you want to be the one that's the guinea pig? Like, it's not sure, but you just jump in and they say, test me. I want you to test my application form. I won't recommend that. So my recommendation here for the senior parents is probably hold it. Because if the form is only open to limited students and institutions, you might not want to choose to be the one. And you might want to wait until the form is more stable, because from last year's experience, it's not a pleasant experience, okay? So this is the timeline, and keep in mind the October 1st, now December 1st, and then also keep yourself on the loop, like kind of pay attention to the news about FAFSA, about financial aid, because they do have a lot of coverage on the news media. What's the lesson learned? And I felt like before I start my, the knowledge sharing and the help parents, and I just want to say the lesson learned last year. Ways to maximizing your financial aid opportunity really is not a simple task for many parents, because many parents, this is your first year, right? And I mean, you've never done this before, and you're not that experienced. So last year's FAFSA Madness, the statistic has already come out a few days ago, resulted increased loan borrowers. This is from the student loan company that they put out the analysis together. So what does that mean? Many parents kind of give up after they have facing the difficulties of filling out all the forms. They just tell themselves, probably this is too complicated for me. I'm just going to take the loan instead, because that's an easy way to go, right? If I don't get financial aid, I don't have the means to pay for it. I'm just going to get money, get loan, borrow from somebody. But this is not a good way to do it. So the lesson learned is like, don't go that route, right? Kind of get yourself more familiar with the learning the financial aid system, and not have any knowledge about it. You want to kind of know what is the financial aid system. What does that mean? How do they make the decision? Is it the right decision for my family? So it's going to benefit you in many ways, not just the financial aid. It's going to benefit you, your family's financial well-being. Now, I also need to point out here, I know that many parents are HS2 parents. Congratulations, you're in very, very good hands. I love to work with HS2 Academy simply because the private counseling have really, really built an edge for maximizing the financial aid opportunity. Why? Because you're increasing your chance to be accepted by more colleges. Only when you get accepted by more colleges, you will have more choices of financial aid, right? So be sure to talk to the counselor and select schools. And I'm sure, I mean, it's always very pleasant to work with the parents of HS2 Academy, because they just kind of seems like have everything together and very well organized. And I love that. So be sure to get accepted, because if you don't get accepted, you won't get financial aid. Simple as that. So we're going to start talking about the financial aid system now. The expected family contribution, EFC, is now SAI. So remember SAI, it's probably the most important thing if you need to remember about FAFSA is your SAI, which is your Student Aid Index. So what is the Student Aid Index? It's the index number that used by financial aid professionals, which is the school financial aid officers, when they're creating a financial aid award package. So your SAI is calculated using the information you provide in the FAFSA form. So the SAI is an indication of how much your family can afford to pay for the student for the first year. So the calculation is very, very simple. COA is the cost of attending, the total cost. So school, their job is to find out how much your family need help. Do you need a lot of help? Do you don't need help? Or you need just a little bit help? And that number is well calculated by the formulas. And that formula has a lot of different elements to it. It's not a simple formula, and it has a lot of things involved with your family's financial and your family's number of people, the age of the parents, the income, the different source of income. All these will impact. But in general, the calculation is based on the SAI. So if you have your student aid index number low, what does that mean? You need more help. If you have your SAI number high, it means you probably need less help or don't need any help. So SAI number is the key to financial aid, to college financial aid. I'm going to pause here for a little bit, and I'm going to talk about financial aid, 4 different types of financial aid. When we talk about financial aid, people oftentimes just think about grant, and they're like, that's probably just financial aid. Actually, no. The financial aid consists of 4 elements, 4 types. The first one is scholarship. We actually see a lot of the need-based scholarship from like mostly private school. And the grant, and we're going to touch a little bit later, the federal grant, the state grant, the institute grant. So the scholarship and the grant are the gift money. And it's the best form of financial aid, because when you receive scholarship or grant, it means you do not have to pay them back. And this is a free money, which is the best. But loan is also part of financial aid. Loan means you have to pay back. Not only you have to pay back, you have to pay back with the interest. It's like any loan, correct? And the 4th one is the work study. And this one is a little bit different. It's not in your financial aid. It's not included. You cannot offset that with the billing. And this is if you work in the campus, the school will pay you probably minimum wage, mostly minimum wage. And then you can use the money. The money will go to your student's account. And then you can use the money to pay your expenses. So keep in mind, the financial aid is scholarship, grant, loan, and a work study. 4. I've seen so many different financial aid award package. I've seen one student receive maybe 4 school different financial aid award packages. All 4 schools provide different combination. Maybe scholarship with work study, maybe grant with loan, maybe all 4 of them. So it's very different. It's a combination sometimes. Sometimes it's just one. So that's another thing I'm going to cover a little bit later on to help you to understand. I'm happy to share with you, this is first time, the FAFSA report has changed to call FAFSA submission summary. And this is a very good report. When you complete your FAFSA form, you will be able to download this FAFSA submission summary. And it very clearly indicates what kind of federal support you can get. Now, in this federal application form, you're not going to see anything else. You're just going to see the estimated federal grant, which is called Pell Grant. And for this particular student, the Pell Grant amount is 1935. And he or she is also has some offer of federal direct loans, 9,500. Federal work study may be eligible, so it's not a for sure thing. And the most important thing is at the bottom of the first page, you're going to see your student aid index, 5462. This is the most critical number that you need to keep in mind, because this is the number most schools will use to put the financial aid package together for you. Some parents are very precise with this number, because I think I told them that number, and they're like, oh, actually after the financial aid, my out of pocket is more than 5462. It's 65 something. It's not going to be so precise. This is just probably the average, you kind of have this in mind. Okay, this is about the money that I have to prepare. It's going to come out of my pocket for the first year. So that's an important student aid index number. Okay. So let's talk about what has changed last year. Keep in mind, this change will remain this year. It's not going to change back. Parents, I'm so sorry to say it stays, okay, this year. They're not talking about changing anymore. So whatever happened last year, all the changes will roll over to this year. So what's the key change? EFC is now SAI. We already talked about that. The sibling discount is a very, very important thing if you have more than 2 children and they just happen to be all in school. In the prior years, FAFSA will give you a discount. Let's say if your EFC is 10,000, you have 2 students. One is a freshman, the other one is a junior. They're 2 years apart, right? So instead of 50,000 EFC, you will get a discount of 25,000. No, 50,000. So you will get 25,000 and 25,000 for each kid. But last year they removed that. So you no longer get the discount. If you were to go to public school and your SAI is 50,000, then each student is 50,000. So you will end up paying more in a way because they are not taking that into consideration. But the good news is in the CSS profile, this is still considered. So if you're going to go to the private school will look this and give you some allowance, give you some discount. So keep that in mind. Business and the farm assets. Oh my God, this is such a huge upset for the Chinese community and for the Asian community. Because the business and the farm assets in the prior FAFSA, if you employ less than 100 people, you do not have to report any asset. So we've seen a lot of families put their investment homes, put their, what do you call those, business asset or under the business entity. And they end up don't have to report it as a FAFSA asset. But starting last year, everything has to be reported. So that's a bad news for a lot of families, right? Because now with the family business and asset, you might not qualify for financial aid. But I want to point out, CSS profile for private schools, you always have that built in the formula. So there is not much significant changes just for the public school. The good thing with the new FAFSA is the college list. Before, we can only put total 10 schools in the FAFSA form, but now you can upload 20 universities and the schools, which is such a big break. Most of our students probably apply 15, 18 schools, and this will just be done like a one submission. You don't have to make a correction like prior years we had to do. Before I talk to divorced parents, I have to take a break. Hold on. Now, the new rules for divorced parents, this is so hard to understand for many families if you're, if the parents are divorced. So the contributor, get familiar with the word contributor, that's the parent, right? In the old form, the parent that the student live with will be the one that submit the FAFSA form. But in the new form, the contributor is the one who provide the most financial support, not necessarily the one that they live with. So this becomes quite complicated. And I felt like this is a gray area. It's very difficult. A lot of parents are like a question about that. And if you happen to be divorced parents, and you might want to consult with me, not here, because it's very complicated. I'm just going to put it here. It's changed. It's quite a change. The following questions most parents ask me, and I feel like if I answer those questions, it's pretty much give you a clear picture of what to expect on college financial aid. So the most question I get, especially from HS2 Academy parents, because they're so, together, they don't want to give up the ED and the EA opportunities, right? Because that is increase the acceptance rate if you apply for ED and EA. So the first question is, will financial aid impact acceptance of ED and EA? I get this a lot. ED and EA are the dream school of your student. And most parents feel even if they have to borrow the money or withdraw their retirement account or refinance their house. They want to make sure the student get to go to their dream school. So the question is always like, Lou, if it's going to impact their acceptance rate, then I'm not going to do it, right? So I want to share two good news with you all. This year, my first two financial aid award package came from two ED students. One is from Johns Hopkins, and the other one is from NYU. And they came on December 14th, 2023, which is purely based on the CSS profile because the FAFSA we never submitted yet, December 14th. So we submitted the CSS profile for ED in November. November 15, most ED deadline is November 15. So we submitted this. And I was so excited. My first one was Johns Hopkins. I mean, like just joy, you know, joy from the parents, the student, and me too. I'm just super happy that this student gets such an awesome financial aid award package. So the cost of Johns Hopkins last year was $89,424. Take a look at the student get. Total grant and the scholarship for the 2024 and 2025. Johns Hopkins Scholarship Institutional, $78,429. And the federal grant, which is called a Pell Grant, maximum $7,395. Estimated other federal grant is $900. So the total the student get is $86,000 and $724. What does that mean? I mean, if financial aid is going to impact this acceptance, then this student won't be able to accept it because she's getting so much money, right? Like that just answer, it doesn't matter. It just really doesn't matter. So the end result is the student is going to get back from school $1,648 because the financial aid is exceeded what's going to be built. And she can use this money to pay for the other additional costs. So the end of the net cost for this family, sending the student to Johns Hopkins, will only need to pay $2,700 in total. That's including the tuition, the room, the board, and then the books, everything. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Like, can you imagine if you didn't apply and you're not receiving this? I just don't know. The second one is a very memorable one because the mother, I remember, after the consultation, still keep asking me, are you sure? Are you sure? At the end, I have to tell her, you must apply. Because if you don't apply, how are you going to pay for this $90,000 tuition? So she finally listened to me, and but not 100% sure, right? Like she was very nervous. She still calls me, oh my God, I'm so nervous. When she received this, she sent it to me in WeChat. And she sent it to me and not knowing what's going on. She said, what does that mean, Lou? If you look at this financial aid offer, also arrived on the 14th, right? The total cost of attendance, COA, is $93,184 for going to NYU. It's an ED. And the financial aid award package include Pell Grant, once again, which is a federal grant, and the New York state grant with their New York residents. So they get state grant. And then the scholarship from NYU, liberal study department. So this scholarship actually is a need-based scholarship coming from the college that she's going to. So at the end of the day, the parents only need to pay $8,239. And she couldn't believe it. I think she cried. She just very stunned, like she couldn't believe it. She said, I am so glad I listened to you. I didn't listen to my neighbor. So, will financial aid really impact acceptance of ED and EA? I would say no, but if you still insist, then every family is very different. I need to talk to you. I mean, maybe your financial situation is a little bit different, right? The other question I often get asked is,